I'm a very intentional person and I do a lot of things. And unfortunately, raps happens to be the thing that I focus on the least. So, in Uganda, sometimes people have this thing of, they just cheated, they rigged, they just, they're trying to push their person. And I'm trying to say, no, listen, I am merited to win this award. I am a female rapper. I'm representing females. And even the freestyle that I did was representative of that.
Hey, UG boy, let's talk to them. Let's talk, let's talk to them. Let's talk to let's talk to them. Let's talk, let's talk to them. Yeah, I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold. The tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. What's up, Doug?
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show podcast.
You just served me 3 seconds of words because usually I say welcome to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, but you just said it. So welcome to another episode on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, on the podcast where I bring your famous people, your celebrities, the regular people, normal, anybody out there that wants to come here, kick it with me, have a conversation, laugh, talk about anything and everything that's out there to be talked about. And today I am honored to have none other than Ninja C in the building. Ninja C, welcome to the podcast.
Cue random applause in the background. Thank you. Thanks, Bonnie.
I like that you pulled that dance move actually, because that dance move, I saw it somewhere else. So we're going to talk about that today. The one you go like this. When they announced you for your award, I'm going to bring that up. But before we get into that, I'm not going to spill anything that's coming on this podcast.
Okay.
Ninja C is an award-winning rapper. She's also a director and head of marketing. And that's as simple as I can put your introduction. If you were to introduce yourself to somebody, what would you say?
I'm Cynthia Tumwine. That's my official government name. And I am a bubbly, vivacious, creative, fun-loving person. I do a lot of things, but mainly I am first a daughter, sister, friend, cousin, and then I'm a wife, mother, and then TV personality, rapper, and creative, all-round creative.
That's a lot of content right there. That's a lot of information. So a lot of that stuff is going to come up and we're going to learn new things. I have learned already new things because I didn't know DOP Wange was telling me, "Busumanya ate, tutekekera mbaga ate bichi bichi." So like...
No, he just said that because I said that after here I'm going to a wedding.
Okay.
And that's usually like just how my life goes.
Right.
Like 5 different things happening at the same time on the same day.
So I also found out that I think the whole Uganda knows Ninja C. Whoever doesn't know Ninja C, I don't know what country you're out. No, about Nairobi, they know Ninja C, but at least majority of the people I've had on the podcast, I've talked about you, and one of my recent recording with Lamu, she recommended you to be a guest on this podcast, and that's how you ended up here.
Yes, that's my baby girl. Yeah.
She had nice things to say about you. So this is a unique conversation that we're gonna have, and I like it because I bring people here without telling them what I'm going to ask them, and they'll be like, "What is this guy gonna talk to me about?" But we always have here, we have a conversation, we laugh, and but on this podcast, I have segments that we go through with questions and conversations. The first segment that we do is called This or That.
Okay.
From your introduction, we said you're a rapper, you're a Ugandan, you do a lot of things. So the 5 questions come from the things that you do, and you guys choose this or that. The first question. Rap battles or studio recording?
Studio recordings, because I find myself actually in rap battles and they're tough. They're tough. Most times you have to really bring your A game. You can never know what the other person is going to come at you with. There are people who like rapping while dissing.
Yeah.
You know, you're there in games and then someone just triggers you, and next thing you know, you're going off and you're getting out of character. So studio is a bit more composed. You can kind of like write what you need to do, you know, execute. I can do both, don't get me wrong, but I'll definitely choose studio. Yeah.
I was watching a show. I now forgotten the name of the show. But it was recently on Netflix. It was about hip hop. I think it was created by
Right.
John Legend, and then it had Ti, it had DJ Khaled, it had Lato, yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah.
But one of my best moments, the one thing I love about hip hop is the battles, because people just go off, and you just see these two people like going at each other. And I respect hip hop artists a lot.
I'll say that I think that I rate my top hip hop artists based off of those that can battle. Because essentially it's the most difficult thing in the culture to do. But if someone can do it well, then they can do studio, they can do performances. They are good in my books, yeah.
So would you rather be directing a music video or helping up a young artist, or would you perform live on stage?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough because I actually really enjoy performing. However, I would prefer to help an upcoming artist on like a set or going on stage or yeah.
Actually, you just caught me off guard because I thought you're gonna pick performing live on stage. But I know where the answer comes from, because when Lamo was here, she said something like, I want you to have Ninja C because she's kind of like a mother to us. She has helped us. She's helped like all these upcoming artists, like people. I don't like calling them up. I mean, it's debatable. We go. That's another conversation for another day about upcoming artists. But like the underground artists, the artists that people haven't discovered yet, or people that are out there grinding music. That's how I would describe them. But yeah, I thought you're gonna pick that, but yeah, I think it explains what other people have talked about you.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like even with performances, I'm quite picky. So that's the other thing. So I'm not the kind of person you're gonna find performing everywhere all the time. I pick like 3 times in a year an event that I really feel passionately about or I'm trying to support.
Yeah.
And then I'll perform. But for many of the other artists, it's important for them to perform so that they put their name out there. So I'm happy to like get them on a stage, help them prep for their show. Like, yeah.
You're big in music, and this is also going to come up in the next segment. So when we talk about dig into like the music, the stuff you do for music, you're really big into music because there's something like Good Music Friday. Is it called Good Music Friday? Yeah. I'm going to ask you about that later, but like that for me shows like you really love music. So this question I'm asking you, I know you're a hip hop artist, but would you rather hip hop beats or Afrobeat vibes?
Hip hop beats any day, all day. Listen, I'm recently trying to tap into like eccentric sounds or different sounds. So, you know, I've done the Afro beats, I've done the electronic music, I've done the R&B, but for me, hip hop, like it's just like when that beat starts, that hip hop boom bap beat starts, I'm like, yeah, let's go. The rapper in me is ready.
It reminds me of I'm gonna stop keeping things for later. I'm just gonna say it as soon as it comes out. But it reminds me of
things are many.
I know. It reminds me of when you were going to pick up your award, and after you said you asked the DJ, you got any beat? Like you wanted him to drop a beat, and then you gave them a freestyle. So it just reminds me that special weather. You say when the beat drops, you're just ready to go, and you're right there to
immediately.
The final one, I want to hear what you gotta say. Old school rap or new school hip hop?
Old school.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Unfortunately, I'm one of those millennials who's stuck in the 80s, 90s time capsule.
Yeah.
And I just failed to get out of it. Being someone who works a lot with young artists, I do find myself exposed to new music and the new school rappers that are out there. But I can't say that I appreciate them the same way.
Yeah.
Firstly, for so many reasons. Firstly, half the time, sometimes I don't understand what they're saying. Other times it's like, okay, I can understand what you're saying, but what's like the intention behind this song? Like, are you trying to give out some constructive message or are you just here to abuse other people? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to appreciate the new school rappers, but there are some new school rappers that I like.
Definitely.
That are in between 90s, but they've come with that fresh Gen Z, Gen Alpha sound, TikTok sound.
I would definitely agree with you because I listen to all sorts of music. It depends on my mood. There's sometimes when I'm driving and I just want a hip hop vibe like playing out in my car. But sometimes I struggle with like, what is this guy trying to say? Like, okay, I understand, but you say this word. It's like 90% of your music is just this one word. Like you just keep saying over and over and over. Like, what are we doing? Like the beat is nice and all that. But
what are we doing? What are we doing?
Exactly. But yeah, so that was this or that. It wasn't very hard, was it? It wasn't.
No. Well, no. No, I just feel like if I had a choice, it would just be both.
And that's what makes it complicated because it's supposed to put you in that position. Like, what would I choose? So I like that.
True.
Anyway, but after that, we just kick it off with congratulations on being named Miss Uganda Hip Hop 2024. It was amazing. I love awards. I've been honored to win a few awards for the podcast, and it shows you that people are appreciating your work, and that's how I interpret it. Even with the nomination itself, it shows you like you're noticed, even if you don't win the award, but you went ahead to win this award, and 10 years you've been doing this music. How was the feeling like for you?
I was happy. Yeah. I was really, really excited. To be honest, I was quite shocked. I've been this was the second time I've been nominated for this award. And if I was to tell you that I saw this coming, I would have seen it the first time around I got nominated. This time I didn't think so because like I had a lot of conflicting views about like the award ceremony itself and just the general hip hop culture that we're currently experiencing. So I was like, guys are not going to vote for me. I'm getting cancelled. I'm getting pushed out of the hip hop scene for my views. But I won the award and I was really happy. This is the second time I've actually won that UG Hip Hop Award. Nice. So it was different when it was my personal award.
I'm glad you talked about that. You thought you're getting cancelled because you mentioned it when you're receiving the award. And I was watching that clip about your speech that you gave. And I was curious of like, why would she say she was going to get cancelled? So I'm glad you touched about that because now we know why you thought you might get cancelled because of your opinions. But like you also say like sometimes you gotta say what you gotta say and you gotta do what you gotta do. And
yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are probably even wondering what the opinion was and if it was even that crazy. It was nothing crazy. It was just me saying, hip hop is already as small as it is genre in Uganda, If I was to count the number of hip hop artists that we have like countrywide, it's probably like maybe 80 if we're being ambitious.
Right.
Yeah. And with these 80, that's the ones we may know of. There's still so many that may not make it to the mainstream or may not even make it to like the top underground scene. Yeah. And my whole point was, guys, there's people working hard, really trying to push this genre. Let's try and give them that platform. That's what the awards are for. Yeah. Let's have them nominated. There was a whole nomination process. And basically the rule was, if you didn't submit, then you do not deserve to be nominated. But I felt it was kind of unfair because there are some people who personally did not submit. Yeah. Like other people submitted for them. So my thing was, okay, if that is the rule, then if there is someone out there that is trying to do hip hop or push hip hop music, then submit for them. The artists themselves, okay, fine, you guys also submit. But if there's someone who has stood out, right? And has not submitted, no one has submitted for them, they should also be considered because they stood out. And because the nomination doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, it's still a voting competition. So I felt like, no, we don't lose anything if we nominate these people.
I wonder
Yeah.
if it will help if, let's say, they pick a group of people that they put it out there and people, no, I don't think that would make sense. Like people vote for nominations and then they vote for the award. Do you think that would make sense?
Right.
Like if the public votes who to go through for the nominations, and then it's the public that will vote for who to win the award.
True. But you know what? To be fair, I'm not gonna put it all entirely on the organizers of the award ceremony or even the award ceremony at all. Hip hop also, we have this thing where like you want to be recognized, but you don't want to put in that work.
Right.
Like you're not promoting your music. You're not sending it to DJs. You're not sending it to radio stations. You're not doing interviews. You're not doing performances.
Yeah.
They tell you to submit. You're not submitting. So there is a lot of spoon feeding also
Exactly.
in that genre, which I think is what these guys are trying to remove, eliminate. But yeah, it's just one of those things. We grow, we learn, and then we find like a middle ground. Yeah. So now if you vote for the nominations, that's really like softening the whole and lengthening the whole process. Yeah.
That's why I really thought about it. I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. But no, because I know why I thought about that, because this award, podcast award or Pulse Awards, that's how Pulse does it.
Yes.
So they will say vote for your nominees, or they'll put it out there for people to submit, and people who like your podcast or who like this influencer, they will submit that and then they'll go into the voting. So, I mean, they can do different styles, but I'm glad that you're able to see that and try to improve it, to make it better for even other artists and everybody who puts in the work to get deserved and get recognized. So that's what we need to see. But also, your performance, we talked about it, your dance that you did while you were excited to give the award.
That's
was
my
cool.
happy dance.
Was your happy dance was
That's
really
my
cool.
happy dance right there.
And then you gave them a freestyle that I was talking about. You asked the DJ to just give them and just show them that, yeah, this is what it means. Like, this is why I got the award, and just right at the back, you gave it to us.
Yeah, no, because also I'm a very intentional person and I do a lot of things. And unfortunately, raps happens to be the thing that I focus on the least. So, you know, in Uganda, sometimes people have this thing of, they just cheated, they rigged, they just, they're trying to push their person. And I'm trying to say, no, listen, I am merited to win this award. I am a female rapper. I'm representing females. And even the freestyle that I did was representative of that. Like it was talking about being a female rapper, the challenges that you face, and how you end up in such a glorious moment. And there are people who try to take it away from you.
Right.
I was like, no, guys, I'm here and I've won. Sorry, thanks.
And that's what hip hop is about. Like, to show you when you want it, you get it. Like right there, right then. You get it right there, right then.
Yeah.
But also, this is a segment where I want to bring this. I was watching, shout out to Gino Zamba and his podcast and the guys. I tune in, I watch it, and I've been in touch with Gino Zamba. I can't wait to have him on the podcast. We talked, we need to schedule this podcast. I was listening to his podcast. I don't know the other two guys' name. One of the guys brought up that, yeah, she won, but I didn't really like her outfit. I really didn't. And Zamba was like, I'm not gonna allow you to pick on my Ninja C. She's my longtime friend. And then I saw you saw that, and you were trying to put it out there that, guys, I wear a lot of hats. And that's just like you talked about in the introduction of this podcast, that maybe he caught you while you're doing something else. This is where I wanted you to clarify it for us. Like, how did you feel about that? And what, I'll just leave it up to you to just tell us what you felt about that and why you chose to dress the way you dressed. Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Downsoft Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Downsoft Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Downsoft Studios, where stories come to life.
First of all, shout out to my BFE family, Baboon Forest Entertainment. That has always been my squad from way back. Like GNL said, he's like a big brother to me. He's one of my inspirations that helped me and encouraged me and motivated me to want to do rap music in Uganda. When I was in school, those guys used to do school tours. Him, Lyrical G, and then that era of the Micros and Blue 3, and they would come to school and they perform on stage, and you're like, oh, these guys are cool. I want to be like these guys. So shout out to GNL. He's really been an instrumental person in me being a rapper and a female rapper at that. And then the rest of Baboon Forest Entertainment, Munji is a personal friend as well. Big Trill, who used to be also part of BFE, I worked with him on radio. He was the first person to introduce me to what it's like to co-present with someone on air.
Right.
So those are my people. How did I feel about what the gentleman said? So this is the thing. I got his point. In that, when you go to an award ceremony, and especially when it's like very niche, like hip hop, hip hop is a culture. There's a way we dress, there's a way we talk, there's a way we carry ourselves. It's very like braggadocious, very, confident, very, and then usually the look is like streetwear, baggy jeans, and all that. So I understood his point and I understood where he was coming from. And if you're going for an award ceremony, you really need to show up and show out.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, I do not think that my relevance or what they were talking about at the time, which was me winning the award, had anything to do with how I was dressed.
Right.
Like I could have gone in a sack and it should have been okay, And my thing is, I think also there's this perception that when you're a woman and you're in hip hop, you have to always be dressed in like a gangster way. Like you cannot represent your femininity. I was in a skirt with, a slightly long slit, and I was, with my natural hair. Like that should be okay.
Right.
Like I should be able to rock up like that and still be considered a rapper. So in a way, I got his point. If you're at an award ceremony, whatever awards it is, even if it's not hip hop, you show up looking your finest, which is the culture, Grammys, BET, whatever. But at the same time, like I said, I didn't expect to even be at those awards. I wasn't going.
Yeah.
I wasn't going because I had a long day. I had about 3 things happening that day. And then I got a call and I was told, MC Yala is winning Lifetime Achievement Award. Please come through if you can and support. I was like, oh my God, MC Yala is like my big sister. I love her. I would want to be there to watch this moment. I literally cut the meeting that I was in short and I was like, guys, I'm so sorry, but I need to actually go for these awards. And then my plan was to leave. I've seen her win the award. I've supported her. And then as I'm now saying, okay, guys, bye, what, they're like, female rapper of the year. The nominees are, and guys are like, how can you go now? Like, this is literally your category. Sit down. I'm like, okay, I'm not winning this, but okay, fine. Let's see. Either way, I'll be excited for whoever wins it because they're all my friends. And that's how that happened. Yeah.
I'm glad that we got an opportunity to clarify that. And I wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, definitely. When I was listening to the podcast, you always get that why. Because they were talking about the award, who won this, and then the dress code came in. I was like, there's no way that connects to this. But also, since you clarified that here, like, it's understandable. Like, I also see the point now that you clarified it. It wasn't anything vibe or anything, and I'm not trying to shame anybody or cause conflict to anybody. It's something that I wanted you to clarify on and just to see your side because you were not at that podcast. But just we listen and people listen to my podcast. If I say something, somebody will say, what did you
Yeah.
try to mean, and give you an opportunity to explain
Yeah.
to yourself to that. But yeah, shout out to Bubon Forest and everybody. I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy what Gina is doing for the music culture, and it's amazing.
Absolutely. Big up on him for sure.
So now we go into our main conversation, and this is where I just want people to know your journey into music. How did you even end up being a female rapper?
If I told you it was an accident, you wouldn't believe me. But so I come from a very musical family. My dad is very musical. He had many hats as well, but he enjoyed doing music, and he made music at some point.
Yeah.
There's like some YouTube songs of his.
Mhm.
And then my mom's side of the family is also very musical. They play instruments, they play the guitar, drums, they sing. We have a lot of DJs on my mom's side of the family, like even currently, DJ Cass Baby.
DJ Cass,
is,
baby, shout out.
Yeah, that's my cousin on my mom's side. So we're very musical. So I guess I couldn't escape it. But initially, what happened was, like I said, I'm a media personality. So I went into radio and TV. And for the entire time I was on radio and TV, people were always trying to put me on the stage to do music because they knew they'd either had me sing or they'd had me rap. And I'd be like, no, guys, no, I'm not trying to do that right now. I'm trying to focus on being on TV and being on radio and growing in that career. And then, lo and behold, 2013, now I'm doing radio. I'm co-presenting with Big Trill, who is, a rapper. I'm hanging out with guys from Baboon Forest. I'm hanging out with guys from Clear Cut. I'm hanging out with, all of these musicians and artists. We're always in studio. Like, I would always find myself in sessions. And they're like, girl, why don't you just give us like, a kind of freestyle? And then there was this debate that I always bring up, but Clear Cut refutes. When I was 13, I was on a show called Teens Club.
Okay.
So Teens Club was part of this hip hop canvas that was basically supposed to help spread awareness on teenage pregnancy, HIV, AIDS, and the like. So for the campaign as Teens Club, we were supposed to come up with a song, And then now they take us to studio. They take us to, I think it was called Dream Studio or No End.
Okay.
And it was run by Hakim, who is Halima's son at that time. So when we went to the studio, I bump into Clear Cut, and this is me as a teenager. And they're rapping and rapping and rapping. And that is when now the rap battle thing in me came out. And we just started like doing freestyles, and it was fun. And they were like, oh, like when you get older, you should really look into this rapping thing.
Yeah.
Like just know year after year after year, from 13 up to when I eventually started, guys would be like, hey, you have a nice voice. You should try singing. You should. And then now when they would hear me rapping, they're like, oh my God, you should rap. And then I guess I eventually gave in to the pressure. And now here we are. Yeah.
That's a crazy journey. But yeah, I respect hip hop artists. Like, I love I can't sing. I've had a lot of music artists on the podcast. I can't sing, but I love music. I think that's the reason why I have a lot of artists coming on this podcast, is because my love for music and love for Ugandan music. But with a different I respect hip hop artists because coming up with those words in the lyrics of the hip hop artists, like you can't compare it to another genre of music. Like it's so thoughtful. It's so like the words are supposed to be in sync, like things like that. It's so much to put on there, and I love it. I respect it. So you guys do an amazing job. How would you describe your style of rap, or like what would make your music like stand out? What style are you doing? Anything different from other people, or like what kind of rap style do you do?
So from the jump, I've always been like a rapper singer. So I combine both singing and rapping. My style is very multi-dimensional. I can go in any direction. I can rap to any beat
Okay.
that you give me. But it's very old school. So when old school, I'm talking like if you think about like Queen Latifah, MC Light, EVE, those old school rappers from back in the day, those were like my biggest influences.
Yeah.
So that is the sound that I still kind of have. Most recently, you would say maybe like a Nicki Minaj,
Okay.
like very hardcore, very like I'm really about like my rhyme scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the kind of hip hop that I do.
Nice.
But as I said recently, I've been trying to experiment a bit more. I don't like to be put in a box, actually, because I can sing and rap and also like do a little bit of production on the side. I don't like to be called a hip hop artist, although that is what I'm known for. I just rather like to be called an all round music artist. Yeah.
A lot of people have said that they don't want to be put in the box. People who are singing, they want to try rapping. And even when I had Apus on the podcast too, he was just saying he can sing, he can do dancehall. That's why he was talking about his album where he...
Yeah, Apus started out as a rapper. He started out as a rapper, and I remember doing the first interview with him, and some of the music he had brought to the radio was hip hop, and then now there was this other like reggae dancehall style vibe.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is an interesting direction, and that's what he did, and now that's what people know him for. But Apus can actually rap,
and you can get the feel of that in some of his songs when he raps maybe for like maybe a few lines in his songs. It's like, oh yeah, you get a taste of it. What has been the most memorable performance or collaboration you've done so far? And this you can pick from anywhere. Like
most memorable collaboration, I would say the female cipher.
Okay.
That was in like 2015. We got together MC Yala, who is a legend in the game, Keko, who is, as you know, the biggest female rapper out of Uganda to this day. There were other rappers like Fussy, Cleo, who else? The Royal Aggie. Yeah, so we were like about Zion MC. We were like 6 to 8 female rappers came together, did a project. That was the first award I actually won for the Hip Hop Awards, which was Collaboration of the Year.
Of 2016?
Yes, in 2016. And for me, why it was memorable was for the first time, female rappers were coming together and we were really putting ourselves out there like, this is what we're doing. We actually exist and you need to recognize us. And also just meeting these personalities and getting to share experiences with them, make strong lasting bonds, friendships. It was really, really like a big deal for me personally, because I'm big on women in music, and then on top of that I'm big on hip hop. So I was just like, thank you God, like what a great opportunity to be part of this.
Yesterday I was refreshing myself on this conversation, so some of the things that came back, but I think I remember that in 2016, like when Keiko was so big, and she's still, I was listening to her conversation that has come out. It's really cool to just see her journey and her story, and it's amazing and uplifting the women in music.
Yeah.
January 3rd, you released another song that was sort of like a collaboration, On the Road.
Yeah, I did.
Tell us about that. How did that come about? And tell the people about the song, because it's still brand new. It came out this month.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it was really just so random. Tie-Dye, who is one of my favorite female rappers right now, had a birthday party. And then, all of us are there, many producers, many artists who are her friends, having a good time. And now we see, like, when you're in the party and it's winding down, but people still want to keep going. But no one really wanted to go out to like the Chibala. So because we were so many artists and producers and just basically people in music, someone was like, why don't we go to the studio and, continue the party there? And everybody, it's just one of those nights, I guess, when magic is meant to happen. Everybody was like, yes, let's do it. Let's go right now. We went to the studio and we had Ilji, who features on the song.
Mhm.
And then we had Chef Barry, who is a producer. We had La Soul Child, who is also a producer. And so many instrumentalists in that room. And we're like, let's cook, let's see, let's see what happens out of this session. And so Tie-Dye jumps on, I jump on, Ilji closes it. And we stayed there up to 6 a.m. in the morning. Like different people, like that's the one we did, but then different people came and were doing their verses and were, doing their songs, and people were really in that creative zone. And it was just so nice to see. And so a few months later, I got the files and I took them to Samurai. Samurai is one of the biggest
Producers, yeah.
producers in this country. Yeah, so he managed to like work on the files, and
Yeah.
Jan 3rd, I was like, I think it's time. Because I sat on it. This is 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was asking another artist about like, how do you guys make a song and you sit on this song for a long time? I think I was asking Lamo because she was talking about her song that she sat on for a whole year. It's like, how do you have a banger?
Yeah.
It's on the hard drive and you just don't have that of like, okay, put it out, the pressure to put it out.
Well, people don't understand that in music these days, releasing a song is actually the hardest part. Going to studio, coming up with the song, writing, producing it, and, kind of packaging it, for me personally, I'll say is the easier part. Now, because you have to have like a rollout plan, you have to be able to have the mental capacity to now have energy to post on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitter, and then, you work on the graphics, and then you're pitching to have this music on different playlists. So I think for many artists, it's a thing where you have to prepare everything in due time and then also study the environment. Because now, like, this particular song is like an electronic dance type of song. If I had done it 2 years ago, Uganda hadn't yet become too open to that type of sound.
Right.
So then it's kind of like a waste of time. Because you don't get the appreciation you need, and yet you put in so much work. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I'm one of those people who pushes guys to release their music. But at the same time, I'm cognizant of the fact that like there's so many moving parts when it comes to.
Yeah, I've got now to learn why people do that. At first, I did not understand why would people do that. And like people would tell you like, I didn't feel like it was the perfect time. Like you just told to us like at that time it wasn't the perfect time to release the song. Like we just wanted to. So there's a lot that goes into that. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, because I wanted to bring your song in and to remind the listeners, this song is streaming now. Wherever you get your music, go check it out on the road. It's playing. It's a really good song. I got to listen to it a few times. You are big into women. You were talking about like female rappers. You are big into like female rappers, but today it's not just female rappers. You're big into women in music, and that's recently I saw you did a women in music brunch where you had all these female artists come.
Yes.
I remember at that time I just had recorded a podcast with Liko Banji and she was there. I just had Lilia Hawe, Lamu, like all those, they've been on my podcast, and all those are the people that have been talking great things about you. And you've touched on it before even I asked you the question. So what is that like that pushed you to be supportive to other female artists in a country where I would say, I mean, I know we have some super women who are lifting the flag for Uganda in Uganda, but it's kind of also get the feeling of like it's being dominated by the man, because when you hear them talk about the big three, blah, blah, blah. But what pushed you to be there supportive to these female women artists?
I think for me, it's just I've been in the entertainment industry in Uganda for a long time. I think last year I celebrated 20 years. And so just kind of observing that from the broadcast side, from the PR side, from the print side, these are all departments of entertainment and media that I've been part of. And then also now entering the industry as an artist and knowing what I've gone through and just kind of how I've managed to maneuver. The biggest thing was always the men actually come together, you know?
Mhm.
And yet, just by patriarchy, they will always have like the say
Mhm.
and the platforms to do this.
Mhm.
So I was like, if these men are coming together and yet it's already predisposed that, like, if they do something, they're the ones who shine.
Mhm.
As women, we should be able to do this 10 times more.
Mhm.
And also because when you notice the trajectory, the number of female artists over the years has been growing year over year over year, and they're super talented,
Mhm.
right? And for me, I believe in strength in numbers. I believe that when people come together and when they support each other and when they collaborate, when they share struggles or hold each other's hands, it just makes life so much easier.
Mhm.
And personally, my favorite artists in this country happen to be women. And it's no offense to the men because I also am a firm believer in if we're uplifting the men also have to be part of that journey. I'm not one of those, men to one side, women to one
Mhm.
side type of people.
Mhm.
No, because I've been blessed enough in my entire path, whether it was media or whether it was music or PR or marketing, I've worked with men and they've really helped me grow and just kind of see a different perspective in life
Mhm.
from how I would see it as Cynthia, but also as a
Yeah.
woman. And that's, I think, something people don't understand in that, like, men and women can be so similar
Mhm.
yet so different, especially when it comes to ways of
Yeah.
thinking. Men are very like practical. They'll sit down, what's the plan? How are we moving from point A to B? How do we monetize this?
Mhm.
How do we, place ourselves strategically in order to grow or now be better?
Mhm.
And I think these are things that I've learned from men. But from women, I've learned to have genuine support,
Mhm.
to have a community,
Yeah.
where you can come together. If you're doing your music video, you call Lamu, you call Lakine, you call Taida, you call Keko, you call Shiba, and they'll show up and they'll be there for you and they'll support you in every single thing that you need to do. And so for me, I thought it was important that I highlighted that and I just kind of like wanted to really push this narrative that we are women and we are strong and we're doing big things and we're doing big things in music and we need to be recognized for what we're doing and not just my biggest pet peeve is like, oh, she's cute, oh, she has nyash, or like, no,
Yeah.
she actually is talented, she's smart, yeah, yeah,
No, when I saw that, I actually loved it because it's bringing these female artists together. And one of the challenges that people have been saying are like female artists where they don't get together, they have the kind of like beef and competition within them. But to see that you're bringing all of them together on one table to show the unity, to show like, okay, we're doing the same business, but we're not in competition with each other. We're actually just working together to grow this industry. And for me, that's what I took out. And I appreciate you for that, for bringing that and creating that. I know it wasn't, you might have worked with a lot of other people to make this happen. Even the artists themselves, they had to accept to come there. So all of you guys coming together to do that. And speaking of that, lately you've been pushing Akine's new album of they really a remix of Out of Control. I had shout out to Andy Music. He was on the podcast, and at that time they had just released the audio of the remix of Out of Control with Henry Tegan. And yeah, just share something about it because it's been I loved that song before it was a remix, and then when I saw the remix, I was like, oh, cool, that's a good song. It's I say it's a legendary song. Like bringing one of the songs from the back
yeah.
days and bring it back and put a touch on it. It was really amazing. And now the video is out. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
One thing I'm also really like passionate about, aside from women in music, is bridging the gap between the legends and then the new school artists. We have that thing where like people feel like they need to put themselves in categories depending on how they've jumped on the scene.
Mhm.
Like, if you were in the music industry back in the day, you're the old school artist. And if you've joined now, you're the new school artists. And yet, what is interesting and Out of Control, the remix is a good example, is that many of these new wave artists or new school artists derive a lot of their inspiration from artists that were doing their thing before or that are still doing their thing now. I think the challenge became is that sometimes, when you are doing something professionally, you're busy, you're trying to push, and even for you, it's difficult. And then sometimes you don't have the capacity to now encompass in other people. So what would happen is these artists would reach out to artists and then maybe not get the response that they wanted, and then they would feel alienated. So what is so special to me about this song is that Akine loved the original. She reached out to Henry Tegan and he was responsive and he was happy to do a remix with her. And for me, that is the kind of culture that I would want to keep cultivating. Like, guys, because like I said, I've been in this industry for a long time. So a lot of the old school artists are personal friends or, people I've worked with. And then I've also, I'm working a lot with like young artists now, and I see how they think. And I just feel like they have so much value to add to each other if they could give each other that time, And I mean, the song is a classic, but imagine there are people in this day and age who would have never gotten the chance to even hear of the original if this song hadn't come out. And in America, guys have been doing this for a while. America, UK, they've been bringing up doing samples of old songs. And even someone who didn't know, like, you're there, you've never heard of Michael Jackson. Highly unlikely. I'm just giving an example. But like, then you hear like a sample of Thriller in a new song and you're like, oh, this is a dope joint. And then for you in your mind, you're thinking it's by Kendrick Lamar, but like, this song is old school. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I was super excited. I'm so happy. Yeah.
No, that was a good song. And even the remix is just as better. It was amazing. But for me, it was more of like, watching how you guys have been supportive in this for the other artists and what you just explained, like bridging the gap between the legends and the new school. It's cool and it's what we love to see. Anyway, when we were doing this, when I was preparing for this conversation, I was like, oh my God, what are we even going to talk about? But it looks like I have a million things like to even ask you. And like, I try to keep these conversations under a certain amount of time because people can understand. But sometimes the conversation is just too good and just want to give it all the information because I got the opportunity to have you, so I want to take advantage of that so I can ask whatever I want. But on that point, I want you to give me 5 female top artists. Your 5 female top artists.
What?
I'll save you. I'll save you because you have a lot of female friends in Uganda.
Can I do 10?
Okay.
Can I do 10?
All right.
I'll say them quickly.
All right. Are you going to give them in order or no?
No. Not in any order. I'm just going to say based off of like.
Okay. Give me your top 10 female artists.
Juliana Irene Namubiru, Lillian Mbabazi, Cinderella Sanyu, Keko. Those are 5. So Akine, Tie-Dye, Lamu. Likobanji.
You can include yourself too.
Shiba. I think let's cap it at that. Yeah. Let's cap it at that. Yeah.
All right. So the next segment, I'm gonna cut out some of the things because I have a lot of conversation for you, but we're gonna do this segment. I just introduced this segment and it's starting with this episode. These are 5 questions of sip and spill questions.
Okay.
If you had a battle rap against your younger self, who would win and what would your diss be?
This is such a strange... I mean, I think myself now would win just because obviously I've been able to harness the skill. Yeah. But then my younger self was naughty. Yeah. And very, very like daring and audacious. Like the things my younger self would say, my older self wouldn't say. And I feel like that's kind of like the main ingredient for a rap battle, like the audacity to say things. So I'm conflicted. But I would say My younger self. Yeah, my younger self.
What is the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you on stage during a shoot or during a performance?
Okay, so I always forget my lyrics.
I was gonna say that. A lot of artists have said that. It's crazy.
Always forget my lyrics. But the thing is, I will never let it show. You will never know. I will play it like it was supposed to happen that way. God bless me with that skill, thank God. But I'm so bad with lyrics. People diss me all the time, and I think that would be the diss for my
Younger self.
rap battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like, what you even talking about? You can't even remember your own lyrics or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I forget. And then to make it worse, I forget my lyrics and then I butcher other people's lyrics. Like I'll be singing a song and what I'm singing versus what they actually say is two different things. Yeah. So.
I didn't know that till I was watching the hip hop show I was telling you about. I even forgot the title of it. But like guys were forgetting.
I remember that episode where
Yeah,
I saw that episode. Guys they went in their group and everybody in their group forgot
I know.
their lyrics.
It's like, but that's when I was asking myself, is it better to do a freestyle? Because freestyle, it just things are just coming in your head right away. It's not like it's a written lyrics. But I don't know. Can you forget? I don't think you can forget. No, maybe you can run out. Because I saw some guys who ran out of words to say, like while they're freestyling, and like they just blank out.
Yeah. So the thing with me is that if I'm doing a written and I reach a point, or because of course, before you perform, you have that part where you rehearse and stuff. And I feel that I'm not 100% confident and I'm likely to forget my lyrics. I prepare like a freestyle that I can throw in when that happens.
Okay.
Because I feel like you would rather just keep, because unless you have diehard fans in hip hop who know your lyrics, lyric for lyric for lyric, it's just better to keep going than stopping completely and just looking very... I feel like singers have it easier because you can just sing the same line like 3 times until you remember the rest and then, you know.
Yeah.
But with rap, it's like once the lines go, they've gone. Now you have to find a way to bring them back without looking weird.
If you could ban one song from ever being played again, what would it be and why?
What? Over all Jason Derulo songs.
Oh, really?
So sorry, I hope he never watches this. I don't know. I can't. Okay, so I know what it is. I feel like, remember the thing we were talking about earlier about people sampling songs? So there's a song by Imogen Heap, What You Say, that he sampled, and I feel like he just ruined it. And from that time, whenever I hear a Jason Derulo song, I just can't. I'm sorry. No.
Have you ever ghostwritten or written for someone and thought, I should have kept that line to myself? Like if you wrote somebody a song and then you listen to it and then you're like, I should have kept that to myself.
No. I haven't ghostwritten for anyone yet. Okay. No. Wait, so it wasn't like a verse, but like just a hook.
Okay.
Yeah, and then me and this person don't get on anymore. Now the song just went just like that. I was just so annoyed. Yeah. And the thing is, like, randomly people will like post it, and I'll be like, "Can I make a hook?" Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's the song you'll ban and never hear again.
I mean, I wrote the hook. I don't know if I can be, that harsh to myself.
When I was doing this preparation too, I asked myself a question because listening to the Baboon Forest podcast, they were saying in hip hop in Uganda, there is something that's happening where they have people are making different groups of hip hops. Like in a group, it doesn't like, not necessarily liking this, but they're making their own groups. Do you think, because there's what they call like urban hip hop artists and the local hip hop artists, that some people who sing in Luganda and some people who rap in English. What do you think about that? I don't know. Do you feel like there's that separation between people who are rapping in Luganda, or what kind of separations do you see in the hip hop industry? And this is with both the men and the women.
I mean, I think for as far as I have paid attention to Ugandan hip hop, which is like my teenage years, there was clearly a separation from way back between Luga flow artists and rappers that rap in English. As the years have gone on, I've been happy to see that like the two worlds are collaborating and that beef kind of went out the door. You know, people have matured. And so, you know, it's fading. It's fading. I don't think it's a big deal as it used to be back in the day. And for me, I think it just stems from people not understanding different realities, you know? And I said this recently in a tweet. I said, you know, okay, granted, hip hop as a genre has always been like just born of struggle. People used to write rhymes and lyrics just based on talking about their struggles and things they're going through. You know, selling dope on the streets or, you know, having to go hungry, looking for food or having issues with parents, mom, dad, you know, girlfriend, you know. And because of that, it just gave it this whole nuance that when you're rapping, you have to be rapping about struggle.
Yeah.
And a specific type of struggle, let's say like poverty or things like that. And then if you come and you're rapping about something completely different, you're not recognized as a legitimate rapper because, you know, what you're saying is not relatable. But the thing with music and the thing with art in general is that for whatever message you put out, even if it's just Ice Spice type of rap, where it's like bubblegum, grrr, grrr, da, 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 there is a single individual in this universe who can relate to that.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like when people started understanding this, that we all have our different realities, we all have our different perspectives, and we should be allowed to express them in our different ways, then those worlds started coming together. Of course, now, like I mentioned, we do have new school versus old school or new wave versus, you know, the OGs of the game. And that is also a new division that is coming up. And then even in the English speaking rappers, you have like the, you know, A class and then B class. But I think it just comes down to mindset, personality. Yeah, eventually it will all fade out. It will all fade away. I'm not too worried about it.
I was really happy to see Babaluku and Zamba on their podcast and listening to them on their journey of hip hop and to see that connection back there. So those are the things we love to see. Anyway, I said we're coming close to the end of this recording, so I have two quick segments that we're going to end with. This segment is rapid fire. This rapid fire is the first answer that comes to your head is what you give us.
Damn, okay.
What's the first rap lyrics you ever wrote? Just tell us the title.
So I told you about that project that we did for Teens Club and Hip Hop Canvas, where we were talking about teenage pregnancy and AIDS. I don't remember the lyrics.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was my first ever.
What's your dream collaboration? It can be local or international.
International, I would want to do something with Missy Elliott.
Okay.
I really, I'm a big fan of her. She follows me on Twitter.
Oh, really? That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then locally, I think Mwami.
Okay.
There's an artist called Mwami.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Your favorite Ugandan artist right now, and it can only be one.
Damn. Woo. That's tough. Right now, that's tough. Right now. Tie-dye.
Tie-dye? Okay. What's the most repeated song on your playlist right now?
On the road.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
You know, like I do this thing where every time someone messages me or tags me or just tells me they listen to that song, I now have to first go back and be like, what did they say? Or how did we execute this song? What are they hearing?
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
What's the most challenging project you've worked on? Like it could be in music. It could be yours or it could be somebody else's.
So I think it was like 2-3 years ago. I went to this retreat, which had been organized by Bantu Vibes at Villaggio. And it was basically just a bunch of producers had come together, a lot of artists, many of them new wave. And they were like, go into groups and, come up with ideas, themes for your songs and record. And then eventually we're going to do a album or, project. I was so excited. I was so happy to be in that space. But then I also realized somewhere along the way that I was feeling quite intimidated. Guys were talented.
Yeah.
You're used to this thing where you go to studio, you do your part. If you're doing a collaboration, you walk out and the other person does their part and then you But now we were all together, people coming up with different ideas. You go into the next room and there's a bunch of people doing their song. You're like, hey, that song sounds dope.
Yeah.
It was exciting, but it was also quite like, damn, people are really talented in this Uganda.
What's one word to describe your music journey?
Fun.
Fun. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Final three. The segment is called Final Three. These are 3 questions I ask everybody on the podcast. What's been a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
I guess a life lesson would be time is not static.
Mm-hmm.
It's continuously moving, and we should be prepared to move with the times, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes people get very nervous or very scared when they're getting into new seasons of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't even recognize that they're getting into a new season in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they panic, trying to understand, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Should I be doing this? Like sometimes you just need to sit in that season and kind of understand what it is and, then execute from there.
Yeah.
Like I've had so many different periods in my life. Sometimes I feel like I've lived 100 lives in just one. But I've realized that for as long as I'm alive, that's going to keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep moving with the times, keep evolving, keep growing.
What gets you excited about life?
The idea that there's so much to be done, the idea that there's so many things I have yet to experience, the idea that there's so many people that I'm yet to meet,
Yeah.
And just that like there's so many things that I'm yet to accomplish and achieve, even things that I haven't put my mind to yet. That thing that I said about time, like sometimes you see yourself in a certain box or bracket and then you wake up one day and you're in a completely different field doing a completely different thing you had never even imagined yourself doing. I'm excited. That's what makes me excited about life.
That's exciting. The final question. This is a signature question on the podcast. Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? And you're going to help me get that person here. That's how you ended up on this podcast.
I know. Do I have to say like names that I haven't heard being mentioned before? Or
if it's been mentioned and they haven't been here, you can still re-mention them. The task is you and I have to work together to get that person to come here.
Okay, so I would really like to see Flavia Timsime on here.
Nice.
I think she has a lot to share. That would be useful. I would like to see MC Cuts on here. I would like to see Akine on here.
Actually, I think Akine's name has been mentioned before,
You said if they've been mentioned and they've not yet come, well, we need to keep saying until they come. Who else? Kenneth Katuramu, KK.
All right. Have all these names. I'm going to reach out to them and also remind you that you recommended these people to be on the podcast, to tell them, hey, I recommended you to be.
And two more people.
Okay.
Maritza and Sabrina.
Is Maritza the Mama Kampala?
Yes, Mama Kampala.
Actually, I had a feeling you're going to recommend those two because I know you guys are so close and it's funny.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll be excited. And Sabrina, but shout out to Sabrina. I love her podcast. I listen to it. It's really amazing to hear our conversation. I love listening to other people's podcasts to see like how they do their things and just to kind of, you see, like even look like she had a person on her podcast and like just to listen to the other side of things that I didn't ask April. So like you can be on another podcast and you talk about other things that I didn't even ask you like on this. So it's exciting to see other people that are doing podcasts in Uganda and even outside Uganda. I really love podcasts and that's why I do it. So yeah, I'm excited and I can't wait to have a conversation with them on the podcast.
Yeah, shout out to you though. I just want to say like before we go, this is one of my favorite podcasts and I listen to quite a a bunch. And yeah, Ovgalo. I what do we now, yo? For real.
Yeah.
No, I really, really do enjoy watching the Ugandan Boy Talk Show.
Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast, so that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
Hi guys, what's up? My name is Cynthia Tumina, aka Ninja C, the side of me you never see. Her ninjaness in the building, and I just got featured on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show podcast. We had an amazing time. We talked about so many things. If you want to find out who my top 10 female artists in Uganda are, this is the podcast that you will find that out. And yeah, it was a great time. Keep watching and make sure you check out Dansoft Studios.
Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Dansoft Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Dansoft Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Dansoft Studios, where stories come to life.